Hello and welcome, my name is John Valentine, and in this video I will be talking about how you can sell your brand to Gen Z, marketing to the newest generation. So as we know, Gen Z is of course our newest generation and one of the first generations to grow up from birth with social media, technology, phones, and so on. So they're going to be digesting content way different than millennials, than our old trusty boomers, but Gen Z is going to be the next generation and the next generation of consumers as well. So definitely a very, very, very important demographic to consider and to market to, because as we all know, the 14 to 18-year-olds decide what's cool nowadays. So there will be different ways to market to this generation. So let's get right into it. As you can see on screen, I will be talking about the pillars of marketing to Gen Z, and these are going to be very important things to consider when making your digital marketing or just marketing campaigns in general. So first of all, I'm going to be talking about meaning, then I'm going to be talking about relatability, transparency, and finally at the end I will give a summary and conclusion and some final tips and tricks about this course. So this is going to be one of my shorter classes, but it's still going to be very important, so make sure to sit back, relax, and take in all this information, and again put all your questions and comments in the discussion section below, and of course make sure to follow the channel. But other than that, let's get right into this course and let's start. So when it comes to Gen Z, if you spend any time on social media and any kind of social networks, you know what is going on currently, what is going on these days, what is more trendy, and what is more important to the generation of today, and that is meaning. Gen Z wants companies to have meanings. They want companies to stand for something. They don't just want them to sell. They don't want them to sell just in order to sell, even though that's what most companies do, and of course it's a company, so they want profit, but they like to be tricked almost. Like, people want companies to have an opinion on something. They want to buy from brands with the same values, very things that are very important that I'm sure a lot of you have heard. These keywords that are beaten to death in the social media and marketing days nowadays are things like sustainability, and of course these are all very important. I'm just saying that this is what is happening and what Gen Z wants, and what I think a lot of people actually also should want, but that's all personal opinions, and so on. You can have your own opinion. I of course also think a lot of these things are very, very important and very great to have, but Gen Z, I think, is a generation that cares more than any other generation and any other generation that has come before in terms of these things, such as cruelty free. For example, if you're a makeup company, what's very important to a lot of people is that they don't test on animals, that cruelty free in that aspect. Sustainability is a huge thing, of course, for the past few years now. If companies are sustainable, people really like that, and if they're not sustainable, people really dislike that, and you can see a lot of companies use that to their advantage as well, of course, which is great in certain aspects, but I think a lot of companies also take advantage of it and sell a lot of BS stories in order to just seem sustainable. But again, that's marketing, and that's how companies work. They really want to show off their sustainability, and I think as long as the end result is the same, I think sometimes it's important to look at that as well. But I think what I also want you to remember is that you don't underestimate the importance of a purpose beyond just your brand. So I think a lot of the brands that come out of Instagram, social media, and so on nowadays, from younger entrepreneurs, you can see that they don't just sell a product. A lot of the times they have a specific story behind it, a driven purpose. If you have a t-shirt that is made from sustainable materials, then people will tell you that story, and they have a story to tell because they wanted not just make cool shirts, but they wanted to make cool shirts in a sustainable way. And I think that's a great thing to do, and I think that's awesome that a lot of people, especially younger people, really look out for that, and they really want that as well. So I think it's also important to support these businesses that do make these great decisions for example, Mother Nature and stuff like that. So just keep in mind that you want to have meaning to your products, especially when it comes to marketing to the younger generation, because people really want something to not just buy, but also believe in. Of course, there are products that you can't avoid, such as groceries and stuff like that, but when it comes to other goods like t-shirts and things like that, a lot of these apparel lines, clothings, or just lifestyle brands, the importance is their story and what they stand for, their values, what they represent. So it's definitely something to keep in mind when marketing to Gen Z. The next important thing is relatability. Brands have to be humanized nowadays, especially because of social media. It's not just, Coca-Cola, let's get a, drink, let's get a soda. It's not just whatever, this food brand, let's get their food and so on. Brands need to be humanized because people connect with them on a more personal level because of social media, and they have to be relatable. They can't just share their pictures of their products and get on with their day. They have to share stories, they have to share their values, they have to share their insights, they have to show the company behind the scenes and so on. The social media presence should be personal, and it shows. Sometimes you can tell the authenticity of that relatable company, and there's a lot of companies that do it well. For example, a great funny example of relatability is the TikTok account of Ryanair. You can look it up right now. Go on TikTok and look up Ryanair. It's an airline. It's a airline that has cheaper flights, if you don't know. And some of their content is amazing. It's something that an 18-year-old in high school would do, or something like that. So they really figured out how to relate to the audience on TikTok. Of course, that content might not work as well on their website or on their Facebook page because people of the majority of people 30 or over on Facebook, and then people between 12 and 18 are on TikTok. And so some of their TikTok content is really amazing, and it's a great example of what I mean with relatability. They identify the trends, the music, the sounds, the challenges that work well, and they do a perfect twist of their own to those videos. And so if you want a perfect example of relatability, go on TikTok and check out Ryanair. They do some great work there, and that's some of the things what I mean with relatability. You don't just want to post your picture of your t-shirt and get on with your day. You want to talk about your story, you want to talk about who you are. You can introduce your teammates, your team members, your colleagues, who you are, what you stand for as a brand and as a person, and you can show off some of your relatability, be a little bit more humanized, and in that way you can share that relatability, and people really connect with that, and that's also that in turn will increase brand awareness, brand reach, engagement, and of course sales and customers at the end of the day. So definitely something to keep in mind. So lastly, let's talk about transparency. Similar to the first item of meaning and relatability, transparency is also important because you do want to be upfront about your operations. Whatever it is, you can show, the basic things like behind the scenes, how your product is made, how your company works, how your colleagues and how your employees are treated, and so on. But you can also be more transparent about your actual day-to-day operations of, what you do, who you are, your personal values, and so on. Of course, you want to be careful with that you don't want to overshare, because a lot of people can disagree about certain things, but you do want to be transparent about certain values that people can relate to and want to relate to. So definitely make up your mind about certain things that you want to represent as your brand. And you can also use that as educational material within your niche. So you can, if you have a clothing brand, you can start posting educational material of, this is how I started my brand, or this is how I found my first employee, and stuff like that. People really like that, especially with the trend of entrepreneurs nowadays. People really like learning about actual businesses and how small businesses work, especially small businesses, and how these businesses work. So it's definitely something to keep in mind about transparency, and some of the great small businesses take you throughout the day they take you through a product order. A common theme on TikTok, for example, is, I'm sure you've seen this a lot, when people have candy companies or Etsy stores and stuff like that, they'll be like, let's pack an order with me. Let's pack an order of stickers that I create. Let's pack an order of candy or candles or whatever it is. And so that's a great way to post content that shows how you operate, what you do, how your product gets made, and how it gets shipped out, and how you get your orders and stuff like that. So showing transparency is also another way to humanize your brand and connect with your consumers on a more personal level and inform them and be upfront about what you are, who you are, and what you do. So definitely a great way to appeal to Gen Z as well. So just to summarize, basically the three pillars of having a marketing campaign or just marketing efforts and ideals for Gen Z and targeting them is showing meaning, having relatability, and being transparent. And basically what it all comes down to is they want to know not just your products, but they want to know who you are as a company, what you stand for, who you support, what you do, why you do what you do, and so on. So as 40 years ago, when companies made people believe that cigarettes were healthy, that just doesn't work nowadays anymore. People see through that. They should see through that, and they want to see more about what you are. And I think personally, I think that if people lie about certain things, it's just a question of time until it comes out. So I think being upfront and being authentic about certain values and who you are as a business has its advantages, because you can really relate to customers on a more personal level, and also, of course, again, cater to the Gen Z audience. So it's definitely something important to keep in mind when creating strategies for your business, or just your values for your business in general. So yeah, this is very important when it comes to marketing to Gen Z. But yeah, that's basically going to be it. Relatively short class. I hope you enjoyed this content and this was informational and educational for you. I do have some great big news. I just created a weekly marketing newsletter where I release the biggest social media trends, digital marketing news, and so on. So make sure to sign up for that. You can see the address on screen here. It's tinyurl.com/weeklyval. The newsletter is called Weekly Valentine, so Valentine Weekly. Definitely make sure to sign up for that in order to stay up to date. But other than that, also make sure to follow this channel and leave any questions you have in the discussion section. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this class and learned a bit more about marketing to Gen Z. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you in the next class. Thank you so much, and goodbye.